All right, so as I mentioned, we would love if you would introduce yourself in the chat. You can share links to your LinkedIn, Twitter account, Instagram. If you have a website, just share a little bit more about yourself. And Fiona, I'm going to put you on the spot, one of our FindSpark team members who is here with us tonight. Introduce yourself first. You can get so you can get the ball rolling. Our FindSpark virtual events are not only fantastic for learning a lot of new skills and fantastic actionable tips, but we also love them because it's a chance for our members to meet each other. So please be sure to introduce yourself in the chat, say hello, where you're tuning in from, where you went to school or go to school. We'd love to learn a little bit more about who is in the chat here today, and I'm sure you will leave with some new FindSpark members as new friends and connections. And also, we encourage you to post that you're here. You are taking the time out of your very busy schedule to further develop your career and your skill sets, and you should be proud of that. And by being part of the FindSpark community, that says right out of the gate that you are super ambitious and proactive. So we wrote here a sample social media post. You can give us a shout on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, whatever it is, and let people know that you are here. So really curious, if you could share in the chat if you are a newbie or a returner. So just quickly, chat, if this is your first FindSpark attempt, chat newbie. If this is your first, second, third, fourth, whatever FindSpark event, if you've been to a virtual or in-person before, chat returner. So just take a minute to share if you're new or if you are a returner. It's always fun to see who are some of the returning faces, and we always have fresh faces as well. So a little bit about FindSpark. We are a community that is dedicated to setting up students and young professionals like yourself for career success. And we create all sorts of resources and programs throughout the year, both online like this and offline, real in-person events, all aim to get you closer to your dream career through the people you meet and the things that you learn. And we have hosted over 250 programs since we got started a few years back. We have over 26,000 amazing, diverse community members all over the country. Over 500 different schools and universities are repped. And really, at the end of the day, what makes us different is that we are a community, first and foremost, of people who are truly invested in helping to move each other forward, whether that's attendees like you, members like you, employers, or mentors. And of course, it's fun to talk about the numbers, but I also love to share actual faces of FindSpark community members who have been impacted through being a part of the community. These are people who have landed internships, jobs, found mentors, made career changes, improved their online presence, made connections, gained confidence, made friends. Really, the successes run the gamut, and we are so honored to be a part of your career journey. And you are all FindSpark members now being here today. These are just a few of the fantastic employers we work with. So we are all about connecting employers to top, diverse, early career talent, just like all of you. And again, we do that through things like our highly curated job board. If you haven't checked that out yet, head to findspark.com/jobs. We also have our weekly newsletter and really epic, fun events like Hustle Summit, which is our huge recruitment event coming up, recruitment and networking event coming up this July in both Chicago and New York. We also connect you to all sorts of amazing speakers and mentors who are excited to share their stories and their advice with you. Real talk, no sugarcoating. And a fun stat that 95% of our speakers or mentors will continue to meet up with people and stay in touch with people who they met at FindSpark events after the events that they speak at. So again, our mentors, our speakers, and our employers are really excited to get to know you and be a part of your career journey as well. And just a really quick backstory on why, as the founder of FindSpark, I started the company. So when I was a college student myself, I was a design major at Hofstra University, go Pride. I started to realize that, you know what, there weren't really a lot of great career resources that were specifically geared towards young people, so students and recent grads, whether that be there weren't really events that were comfortable or more friendly towards early networkers, and not really a lot of resources that talked about what the job hunt is really like. Again, real talk, no sugarcoating. And what I found when I graduated was that networking was incredibly important and key within my career journey. And so I knew that I wanted to start something that focused on the importance of building a strong community for yourself really early on in your career. And so since I started FindSpark, in addition to running this company, I also speak around the country at different campuses and events, and I'm an adjunct professor at multiple colleges in New York City. So I really am all about educating and empowering people to achieve their goals. And so really quick plug, we know a lot of you are on Snapchat. And if you are not following FindSpark on Snapchat, follow us right now. I swear, we will make your Snapchat more fun and more productive. We share all sorts of really great content and tips there that are easy to digest, quick and actionable. And we are going to be giving away prizes tonight. And one of the ways you can enter is by snapping us a photo, maybe a photo of your notes or where you're tuning in from. So be sure to follow us by scanning this code or just typing in FindSpark. And we are FindSpark on every social media channel you can imagine. Now to the prizes. So to give you some added incentive to share that you're here, share your notes with us, we have a bunch of different ways for you tonight to enter to win your choice of a prize. So how can you enter? You can tweet your favorite tip or that you're here with the hashtag FindSpark, or post a photo on Instagram or Instagram stories with the hashtag FindSpark. You can snap us or DM us on Instagram. So do one of these things by 10 p.m. Eastern tonight, and you will be entered for a chance to win a free ticket to an event like Hustle Summit, swag from our store, or FindSpark Premium membership. So be sure to share your favorite tips and what you're learning. And with that, I also am going to ask you right now, if you haven't already, after you post, flip over your phone, shut the door, close out of other windows, turn off the TV, just close out of any other distractions. You've already made the time investment to be here, so make sure you're fully here, present, and focused so that you can get the most as possible out of this workshop. And I hope you take a lot of notes, so if you're going to use your phone for notes, you can use that or write them down. We love seeing Snapchats of people's notes and tweets and that sort of thing, so definitely be sure to take notes. And we will be sharing these slides after the event with everybody, and if you are coming to Hustle Summit or you're a FindSpark Premium member, you will also get a recording. So what are we going to cover tonight? We are going to talk about your pitch. So what do you actually include in your pitch when you're talking to people at events and also at interviews? So how to stand out in both of those scenarios. They're a little different, but there's definitely some overlap. And then we're also going to talk about some follow-up methods. So it's really important that regardless of if there's an immediate thing that you can get out of a conversation at an event, or if you get a job or not through an interview, you want to stay in touch with the people who you meet, because otherwise, what's the point? Now, a few high-level things before we get started. So number one is we're talking about your pitch. So really, we are focused tonight on speaking out loud, whether you're in a group setting or you're in a one-on-one interview. And you cannot get better at speaking if you don't practice. It's as simple as that. It's kind of funny how people, they just get so nervous about speaking and talking about themselves. How do I get better? How do I get better? And I think the obvious answer just goes over people's head, which is just to practice. So go to events, talk to your friends, talk to your bosses. The more you get comfortable with actually saying what you're all about, your stories, your accomplishments, your background out loud, the better you will get. It's the same as practicing an instrument or a sport. Again, you will not get better if you don't practice. So I'm going to make you feel really awkward tonight. Hopefully most of you are on your own and maybe not in a public space, but I'm going to prompt you to actually practice your pitch out loud. And if you want to be really cool, you could even snap us a video of your pitch or tweet a video of your pitch or Instagram post a video of your pitch, but I want you tonight, before the night is over, to actually practice your pitch out loud at least once. The other thing is to remember who you are talking to. So a really important element of interviewing and networking is being a good listener. You don't want to be like a drill sergeant just banging out stats and facts and questions. You want to really talk for short periods of time, and then listen and respond. Listen and respond. And always think about the context about what does this other person know about you. For instance, if you're going into an interview, they obviously know a little bit about you because you got to the interview process. At an event, they might not know anything about you. So keep in mind what sort of context people have and also what they're going to care about. When it's in an interview setting, they're going to really want to know that you can do the job. When it's an event setting, it's more about getting to know someone and even making friends. And of course, I want to emphasize that it's totally up to you to make sure people know how awesome you are. And trust me, I know you are all wonderful professionals because you are members of FindSpark and you're here taking the time to invest in your professional development. You are your own best advocate. You cannot count on other people to speak for you. So this event is going to make you more confident about speaking about yourself, which I know is uncomfortable for a lot of people. I want to say one of the questions we get the most is, how do I talk about myself without being braggy? Has anyone ever used that phrase before? I don't want to be braggy, right? And when you're genuine in talking about your experiences and what you want to accomplish and what you have accomplished, trust me, I think, erring on the side of letting people know what you've done, what you're all about, that's the mindset you want to be in. I hate the phrase shameless self-promotion because I don't think you should ever be ashamed about what you have to offer the other people and the world. All right, now we're going to dive right in. Again, this is the time to close out other devices, be fully focused, have your notepad or sticky notepad, and we're going to dive right in. And, what we're talking about tonight a lot is prep, right? So how can you get that confidence? People also want to know, how can I be more confident in interviews and at networking events? And the number one answer is prep. Knowing who's going to be there, knowing as much as possible about the company, and also being self-aware and being prepping just with yourself and what you've done and having things prepared. Prep is everything when it comes to confidence. So we're going to talk a lot about how to effectively prep for interviews and networking events. All right, and now before we get into those two things, your pitch. So what are you actually saying to people? These are the high-level elements of what should be included in your pitch. This is a really great one to screenshot, take a picture of. And Fiona will also tweet out and screenshot some of these slides to share on our social media channels as well. So definitely follow along on Facebook and Twitter as well after the event. We'll put some highlights there. Okay, so what is your background? And what I mean by that is different elements of your professional background and your educational background, like what you majored in, where you've interned, what are some of the classes you've taken, what's the industry you're focused on or the skill set you're focused on, what is that high-level background, what are you all about, what do you care about. Number two is what most people leave out, and that is a recent accomplishment. So what can you briefly mention that shows people that you're actually actively pursuing and doing the thing that you're saying your background is? So maybe you recently accomplished something at your internship, or you just finished a big project, or you won an award or closed an account. What's kind of a quick accomplishment that you can share? And now I'm just going to Make sure that my slides are still showing. All right, so can everyone see my slides still? Let's just do a little refresh here. All right, so again, here is what to include in your pitch: your background, a recent accomplishment, and right now to practice, really quick in the chat, everyone share a recent accomplishment right now. I'm going to pause for a second. What is a recent accomplishment that you could show off in your pitch, that you could talk about in your pitch? So something related to a class project, work at an internship, an accomplishment at your job, an award, anything like that. Be brave, share in the chat right now some of your accomplishments. I want to see them. What is something that you can include in your pitch? Because again, the accomplishment part is what most people leave out. Most people will say what their background is, and then the final element, which is what is a future goal, but not many people will quickly mention a recent accomplishment. And accomplishments are always great when they are numbers-oriented and results-oriented, and we'll talk more about that in a little bit. So while you're sharing your recent accomplishment, talking about the final element, which is a future goal. And when I say future, that could be 2 months, 6 months, 5 years. Really, it's up to you and the context of where you're giving your pitch. But when you're talking about a future goal, it could be something like, what is the industry you want to get into? Maybe you're looking to make a career change, land a new job, grow within your role, learn something new. But what can you share about where you want to go next? What is the next step look like for you? And again, that can be short-term or long-term, depending on the context of where you're giving your pitch. So share that accomplishment in the chat, at some point. Share it. I want to see it. I'm going to go back in the chat. I want to look at all your accomplishments. And of course, I want you to share with each other. And again, remember, these events are all about connecting with each other as well. And now, this is really important, right? So elevator pitches are called elevator pitches for a reason, right? So the idea is, what would you say if you were stuck in an elevator for 30 seconds with a recruiter at your dream company or the CEO of your dream company? How could you take that 30 seconds and convince them that you should work for them? And now I bring this up and emphasize this to remind you that your pitch should be short. So this should be 30 seconds to a minute, really one line on each element: your background, an accomplishment, and a goal. And what you want to do is give that quick pitch so then you can let the person you're talking to continue the conversation and ask the next question about what they want you to elaborate on. And really, when it comes to your pitch, what we're talking about is sharing stories. So what stories do you have about different things that you've accomplished throughout your career? Everybody loves stories, right? So how can you create an artillery of different stories that you can share in different contexts, whether it's at events or it's at interviews? And really have fun with it, be animated, and we want to, at the end of this workshop, to be able to have a few stories that you can share. And so what are some prompts that you might get? Well, really, people want to hear about stories to give more context to your experiences. So these are just a few examples of people might say in interviews, say, can you tell me about a time when, right? And so some ideas here, this is another really great one to screenshot or take a picture of, and we'll share this slide on social media. So what's a time when you learned something quickly, like a piece of software or a process? What's a time when you handled a bad customer or client? Maybe a time where you didn't meet a goal. Can you talk about why you didn't meet that goal and what you would do in the future to improve? Maybe talking about a time you had to have a tough conversation with a boss. How have you handled conflict with a boss or a coworker? And then maybe a story about a time where you were given a goal, but not the nitty-gritty specifics on how to accomplish that goal. So these are just a few examples of prompts for stories you can create. So taking your experience and creating stories. And we're going to try one more time just to make sure these slides are working. All right, I'm going to keep the slides small here to make sure we don't keep running into issues. So here are the different ideas for where your stories can come from. So a time where you had to learn something quickly, that you handled a bad customer, that you didn't meet a goal, that you had a tough conversation with a colleague, or you were given a goal but not the details on how to accomplish it. Again, what stories do you have where you can share why you're fantastic and all the different things that you've accomplished? All right, so first we're going to talk about now taking these elements of your pitch and standing out and moving those elements into events. So how at events can you stand out? By having a strong pitch. So number one, a few very simple things when it comes to events. So a few things that definitely matter: your handshake, how you're dressed, and the smile. So it's silly to bring up because it seems so obvious, but I cannot tell you how many recruiters tell me that they hate getting those awkward, fish floppy, weak handshakes. So make sure you have a nice, strong handshake. Give it that one solid bounce, just like here with Jon Stewart and Stephen Colbert. Also, how are you dressed? We want to make sure that we're comfortable when we're in these situations, because you know what? Sometimes interviewing and networking can be stressful, but a way to not be stressed is to be comfortable in what you're wearing. So showing off your style and your personality and making sure you feel nice and confident, and of course, smiling. So smiling, being positive, being upbeat. No one likes Debbie Downers. Nobody likes negativity. So always make sure to be upbeat and positive. That doesn't mean you have to be a super extrovert. And we actually have a really great blog post about networking for introverts on our Hustle Summit site that Fiona will share with us in the chat. But just, again, making sure you have that positive, upbeat attitude is really important. And now I also want to emphasize that to feel comfortable at events, you want to also make sure you're going to good events. And so here are a few tips on how to find good events with good people, because when you're in a comfortable environment, you're going to feel more comfortable. So of course, I have to promote Find Spark. So we have all sorts of events all throughout the year, virtual and in person, and we're expanding our in-person events to more and more cities as time goes on. So we always started in New York, but now we're also in Chicago, and we'll be going to Boston, Philly, and even more cities as time goes on. So stay updated, of course, with our events. You can also Google looking for events. Eventbrite.com has a lot of great ones, meetup.com, your school, Facebook groups, and email newsletters. And you want to try as much as possible to experiment with different events and different groups of people, and then keep going back to the ones that you really enjoy. And now, how to have a good conversation when you are at events. So one thing is to make sure that you ask questions that you can't Google the answers to, right? So for instance, at Hustle Summit, we have what we call the mentorship zone. And our mentorship zone is where we have all sorts of experienced professionals with different backgrounds who are there to give you pressure-free, feedback and career advice in a speed networking type setting. So they're not there to recruit officially for their companies, just to share tips and be mentors. And so we promote in advance what mentors are going to be there, what's their background. You can see their LinkedIn, you can see what they want to talk about. So make sure you don't waste their time by talking about that, right? So what sort of questions can't you find the answers to on Google? And we also have another really great blog post on the Hustle Summit site with 26 different questions for asking at speed networking events. So Fiona will share that one as well to give a bunch of different examples of those types of questions that aren't Googleable. And remember, as I mentioned before, to listen and respond. Don't just drill people over and over with questions without waiting for the answer. Relaxing is important. Fiona also shared a blog post about how to deal with anxiety at networking events. And again, we know that some people are introverts, and these sort of events and meeting a lot of people will be a little more nerve-wracking. And so do what you need to relax. And that could be anything from heading to the bathroom and taking a few deep breaths before stepping out. We also recommend doing some power poses. So it seems a little silly, but before you get to events, putting your hands on your hips and spreading your feet apart and taking up a ton of space and standing up nice and tall, that sort of physical activity right before a networking event or an interview will actually have a huge impact on your confidence levels. And again, make sure you're physically comfortable. So don't wear uncomfortable shoes, don't wear an outfit that's too tight, because that's just going to make you focus on those sort of things instead of the person in front of you. And also, remember to have fun. Networking, honestly, is really like making friends. At the end of the day, you're networking to find people with shared interests, find people you'll get along with, find people who you can help, who can help you. And just curious, how many of you in the audience enjoy helping other people? Do you enjoy, just give us a yes if you like helping other people. Can I get a yes if you like helping other people in the chat? All right, Tori, Manar, Milda, Crystal, Sydney. Oh my gosh, you guys all like helping each other, right? So it's safe to say that everybody does like helping people when they have the opportunity to. So just keeping these things in mind. Something that I like to do before events is to just actually take a moment to channel positive energy by thinking about times where I was able to help other people and how good that felt. And now also just putting it out there that some meetings, some interactions, some conversations might be awkward. And that's okay. You're not going to get along with everybody. You're not going to hit it off with everybody. So don't put that pressure on yourself, okay? Make sure that you realize that sometimes things won't go well, and that's okay. And that's when you close the conversation. And we have a great article on how to open and close conversations at networking events. One of my favorite networking events of literally all time is to be the closer. So when I say that, I mean taking the initiative to close a conversation before it gets uncomfortable, boring, or awkward, and to close that conversation by introducing the person you're talking to someone else you met at the event. And that will also show that you were listening, right? Because maybe you make an intro by saying, it was so great chatting. I'm going to go mix and mingle, but I would love to introduce you to somebody else who's also interested in design, or who's also interested in advertising, or who also went to your college or is from your city. Just finding that commonality to close the conversation and help to start a new one. And then, of course, in a lot of networking situations, and especially, say, at the Hustle Summit, where people are there to find new career opportunities and to help each other out, especially our mentors, a really great thing to do is to ask if there's other people that you should speak with. So maybe you say, hey, is there anybody else at your company you think would want to chat or meet up, or, can I follow up and see if there's anyone else you'd recommend that I chat with, all those sort of things. You can also follow up with a resume so people can keep that resume as a reference. And, of course, I love to, in real time, connect with people on my phone. So I'll actually have people type in their LinkedIn to the LinkedIn app, which is really good to have on your phone. Also at Hustle Summit, something that we have that's really cool is a custom mobile app just for the event. So this is what the last one looks like. So you can see the mobile app has the event and everybody in it, so you could find the person you just spoke with in the app and you can star them so you can remember that you spoke with them later. So I, again, like to do those sort of quick things on site to make sure to maintain that connection. All right, and Fiona actually shared one of our most popular articles, which is how to network without being creepy. So that has some other great tips, and one of the big ones, again, is to keep your networking conversations on the shorter side and know that you'll be able to follow up later. And now I will emphasize that sometimes you might meet someone who you just have an insane connection with. And give yourself permission to talk to some people longer if you feel that chemistry and vibe, but then also remember that people are at networking events to meet a lot of people. So again, don't feel weird about closing that conversation. All right, and now we are going to get into interviews before we close up with follow-up. And we will save time for Q&A at the end of the event as well. And so there's a special Q&A box in the upper left-hand corner there. So if you have a question, make sure to ask it in that Q&A box so it doesn't get lost in the chat. All right, so interviews. You made it to the interview. Congrats, you're amazing. Give yourself a pat on the back. How can you actually prepare for that interview? Again, confidence comes from preparation, and they have you coming into an interview because they're interested in you and want to learn more. So again, be confident about your fit. And so what are the different ways you can prepare and research? I would recommend you spend at least 2 solid hours reading and researching the company, the position, and the people at that company before any interview. 2 hours, at least. It doesn't have to be all at once. Maybe it's 4 chunks of half-hour time periods. Maybe it's reading articles while you're traveling in on your commute, watching videos of the CEO, of people at the company, but at least 2 hours, at least. And we have a great blog post on the Hustle Summit site on other tips for preparing to own your interviews. So number one is Googling. What sort of industry news can you find about the company? Have they been mentioned in any press? Does the company social media channels share any recent accomplishments, awards? Definitely follow them. Follow the company on every social media channel, LinkedIn, Twitter, Snapchat if they have it, Instagram. Many companies will have a company blog or a press room where they talk about different accomplishments and things they're involved in. And of course, you should know who you're going to interview with. And so looking up those people on their public social media channels. Now, I don't recommend getting too personal. If the person you're interviewing with has a private Instagram account, I wouldn't recommend requesting them before your interview. But of course, I would recommend connecting them with on LinkedIn before the interview, or if they have a public Twitter account, to follow them on Twitter. That is not creepy. That is smart, and it shows you're doing research. And if there's any chance before you get an interview of getting a informational interview with people who work at that company leading up to it, of course, that is fantastic and will give you a lot of help with getting some more insider tips. Great to see so many people in the chat coming to Hustle Summit. And then, of course, this is really simple, but know where you're going and get there early, but not too early. So Google Maps, take into account transit delays during the middle of the day or morning commute rush. Arrive 10 minutes early. That is like the golden rule. So if you get there a half hour early, then hang out in a Starbucks or wait in the lobby. But if you get there too early, it can be a little weird, or at least wait in the waiting room. And now, the question that everyone is so terrified of. So tell me about yourself, right? Tell me about yourself. Mind blown. It freaks everyone out. We actually joked at a FindSpark team lunch that if FindSpark ever put on a haunted house for Halloween, we would just have people hiding in the haunted house, jumping out, saying, "So tell me about yourself," right? Because that's what makes people really scared and nervous. So I'm going to make you way less nervous because I'm going to share with you the insider secret, the secret sauce to what recruiters and hiring managers want to hear when they give you that kind of introductory, so tell me about yourself, why we want that, why you want the role, and all that good stuff. So what do they want to hear? They want to hear, why do you want to work for their company? Them, specifically, that exact company. That is what they want to know. Because they don't care necessarily about your general industry interest or that you just want a job or that you just want an internship. They want to know why you want to work for them. And so if you want to work at Macy's, right? Macy's is one of the companies that's going to be at Hustle Summit. Don't say you want to work at Macy's because you've been shopping there since you've been a kid. Everyone's shopped at Macy's since they were a kid. I don't care. You've got to get more specific than that. We're going to have Bustle and Refinery 29 at Hustle Summit in New York, right? If you just say, I really want to work at Refinery 29 because I love reading the articles, okay, so does everyone else, right? Take Active Campaign. Active Campaign is one of our big employers in Chicago. They're a startup. And so just saying, oh, I've always wanted to work at a startup. Again, that's super generic. What they want to hear is something more specific, like for Active Campaign, they're a startup that recently raised a lot of fundraising money, right? So maybe you get more specific by saying, I want to work at Active Campaign because I love startup environments where you can really get your hands dirty, and I'm excited about Active Campaign since they just raised a round of funding. I know that they're going to be investing a lot of resources in building the company quickly, and I know that I can work well in a fast-paced environment, right? So that is way more specific and shows really quickly that you've done research on the company. And it also shows some of your motivation. People want to know, what is your motivation for switching jobs, landing a new job? And so something like I just mentioned where you say, you want to be really hands-on and wear a lot of hats and be challenged. That's interesting for me to know that is your specific motivation. Or maybe it's because you want to work on a big team or a smaller team, whatever it is, but motivation is so key for recruiters and hiring managers to understand if you're going to be a good fit. So how can you share that motivation? And of course, they want super quick proof that you can do the job and add value. That's what they want to hear at first. Not what you're going to get out of that job, but what you're going to give to that job. How are you going to help that company grow? And how can you give me quick proof as to a recent accomplishment? So again, similar to the pitch, that you are going to be able to kill it in that job. And again, you want to keep this opening short, because then after you give that initial pitch, they'll keep going and let you, expand upon that, but keep it short at first. And again, emphasizing an interview is for you to talk about what you have to offer to the company. How can you help them succeed and grow and add value? So really that should be the context and the angle of talking about your experiences and how you answer their questions. And again, what you want to do is have stories ready. So what impact have you made at past jobs? How have you improved things? Can you talk about numbers, results? And also context, right? Remembering, get out of your own head with certain awards or jobs or experiences. Don't use words or acronyms that they might not know. But don't drone on and on about details that are not important. So what can you cut without losing the impact of your stories? Short is sweet and wonderful. And do also remember that interviews are also for you to ask questions of them, and ask smart questions, again, questions that cannot be Googled, because an interview is for you to find out, is this a good fit? And so don't be afraid to ask questions, and know that interviewers ask or want to hear some questions throughout or at the end to show that you really care. And now our closing segment is going to be all about that follow-up. Follow-up and persistence makes or breaks opportunities, I'm telling you. You know, I know we had a fellow actually who applied for the Hustle Summit Fellowship Program and got into the program, and one of the stories she told in her application is how she applied for the same job or internship, I want to say like 3 different times. And we just loved hearing that persistence, right? And persistence is so key. Don't give up. When people say, oh, well, I followed up once and I didn't hear from them, my question is, oh, just once? I think following up with someone once is like nothing at all. You've got to follow up more than once and keep in touch. And that is key to landing opportunities. So once you have an interview, you want to send a quick note afterward. And recruiters have different preferences as to how quickly, but I definitely think a great rule of thumb is sending your follow-up within 12 to 24 hours. So you don't necessarily want to send it on your iPhone on the train ride home, because it's good for you to think about your follow-up, but you also don't want to send it 3, 4, 7 days later. And so you want to establish a quick reminder of why you're a good fit for the role, something specific that you spoke about, and in your email signature, you should have a link where they can learn more about you. So we highly, highly recommend Wix.com for everyone to have a personal website. And Fiona will share a link to our special Bitly link where you can sign up for a Wix website. It's always free, but we also have a special code, FindSpark50, which will get you 50% off all premium accounts. So you can have yourname.com, like ToriBowser.com. So use that email signature to include your website so they could easily click that and share it with colleagues. And the same goes for events. You want to send custom follow-ups. So these are actually pictures of what following up on LinkedIn looks like. So on the left, you can see if people don't send a custom note, everybody looks the same. So all I see is your profile photo, your title, and if we have mutual connections. But you can see down there at the bottom, if you send a custom note, you literally take up more space on my screen, and I'm going to click and read that note. So it doesn't have to be long, just a super quick reminder of how you met, what's the context. Same goes for inviting people. Don't send the generic invite. Don't just hit that connect button. Hit add a note. Add a note, quickly mention why you met, why you're reaching out, how you met. All of this will make you really stand out when it comes to networking events and interviews. Follow-up is so clutch. And of course, you can also send follow-up emails after events. So this is an actual email that I sent to someone that I met at an event many, many years ago when FindSpark was called NY Creative Interns. And so I met this woman at a huge conference, and she is really a big deal. So she's kind of internet famous. She's also a FindSpark speaker alumni. Her name is Amy Vernon. And so we met at this conference, and here is like the perfect follow-up email, not to, pat myself on the back, toss. So the subject line was nice meeting you in the Samsung Blogger Lounge. So in the subject line, straight up, I put the reminder of where we met. And then I said, hi, Amy, my name is Emily. We met in the Samsung Blogger Lounge during South by Southwest. It was a pleasure chatting and hearing more about your history with social media and Dig. in general. The next time you're in New York City, I'd love to meet up for coffee or drinks to pick your brain, maybe interview you for my blog. Here are some of my past interviews. Let me know. Either way, it was awesome meeting you, and hope the rest of your South by Southwest goes well. And then I signed off with my name, where I worked at the time, EmilyMiffner.com, which is my website. And Fiona, if you would share the link to my website in the chat. So if you head to quick plug EmilyMiffner.com and you enter your email, you will get an automatic email of my favorite digital social media platforms and tools and resources that I promise will make your life easier. So head to that website, and my personal website is also a Wix.com website. So it's a really good example of a Wix website. And so why was this follow-up email so great? I put where we met, I put what we talked about, I gave a call to action. So not only did I invite her to meet up, but I invited her to be interviewed on my blog, which is a really, really great reason and excuse to connect with people. If you have a blog or you have social media accounts where you interview people, maybe if you're a college student, you can invite them to speak on your campus, but offering an opportunity to them is always great. And then having that email signature where they can learn more. And remembering to follow up. So if it's a job or if it's at a networking event, my rule of thumb is if you haven't heard about a job after an interview, or you're trying to get a meeting or something like that after a networking event, follow up within 1 to 2 weeks, over 1 to 2 weeks, 2 times. And if you don't hear from them after that, then I think just moving on to the next person, because you don't want to waste a ton of energy following up with people who aren't going to get back to you. So there's tons of people who will, like Mentors at Hustle Summit and Find Spark Employers. So, just don't stress out too much, and you never know, maybe you'll hear from them later. And then when you do follow up, be strategic about it. So look at where those people are most active. So maybe the recruiter you spoke with is on Twitter and you can direct message them or message them on LinkedIn. Or maybe the person is really responsive on email. Know that your follow-up note should be so specific and customized that you could only send that follow-up note to that person, that you could not copy and paste it and send it to somebody else. And be brief. One of my good tips is making sure your emails are short enough so that people won't have to scroll on their phone. They can read your whole email just in the body of their phone. And then again, use that email signature space for them to be able to click and learn more about you. Don't let time get in the way. So many people are nervous about following up after weeks or months or years. But my big recommendation is to follow up with people when you've genuinely thought about them. So I'm sure you all have moments in the day where you read an article or you see a sign or an event that makes you think, oh, that reminds me of my internship boss, or that reminds me of my old colleague, or it reminds you of something, or something reminds you of someone within your career, and most people will have that thought and then they'll do nothing. They'll move on with their day. The people that stand out are the people that take the time, just a few seconds, a couple of a minute, to actually send a note to people when you've genuinely thought of them. And that doesn't mean there needs to be an expectation that they'll get back to you or that they'll give you a job, but it shows them that, hey, I thought of you. And those little touch points and follow-ups, whether it's between a few weeks, a few months, or a few years, that's how you maintain that network and keep it strong. And yes, I do love physical thank you notes. I am such a thank you note nerd. We have a blog post all about sending handwritten thank you notes. These are actually a few thank you notes that I've received that are some of my favorites. So sending a thank you note after an interview, that's a little tricky because you just want to make sure that it would be quick enough that they would get it before the decision is made. So another great question to ask at an interview is, what's your timeline? So you know what that process might be. For some people, they might say, we're trying to make this decision ASAP in the next few days. Some people might say, you're the first person we've interviewed and we won't be making a decision until the next month. So get an idea of what that timeline is, and if you have some time, send a note. Sending a note to people after events is really great, especially speakers, and just people in your career who have helped you. Notes, handwritten notes are such a great way to stand out. I always keep like a stack of cool, fun thank you notes. So, and kind of make it a goal of mine to send a few each month. And of course, one of the best ways to stay updated with people is to tell folks when you've accomplished things. So if you've landed a new internship or completed a project or gained a new skill, completed a course, gotten a certificate, these are great reasons to update employers after interviews if you didn't get an event, didn't get the job. So maybe you send an updated resume with some new experience, or you send a mentor or a colleague a note about an award. And also remember that you don't have to email blast people or, one-on-one email everybody about every accomplishment. This is huge and where social media comes into play. And we have an entire virtual event just like this coming up on July 10th, all about your online presence. So for that event, we're going to 100% focus on how to stand out online and use your social media channels to show off accomplishments and maintain your connections. Fiona will share a link to that, but just remember that a great way to keep people updated in a reason is when you've accomplished things. And then, of course, don't forget to celebrate your wins. So give yourself a pat on the back or treat yourself after a networking event like Hustle Summit, and taking the time to invest in meeting new people. And, of course, when you land an interview, celebrating that afterward. Job hunting and career development, it's stressful, right? There's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of competition. We focus on creative and business and tech, and these are competitive industries in competitive cities. And so I don't like to sugarcoat, right? This stuff is not easy. The stuff I'm talking about takes time. It takes more effort. But when you do these things, you're going to get greater returns. I totally 100% promise that to you. And so with that, I'm going to wrap up with some more information about FindSpark. And some follow-up. And, of course, like I said, we are also going to save some time for questions. So don't head out yet. Stay with us, and we will get to Q&A in just a bit. So if you enjoyed tonight's event, my ask of you is to follow FindSpark on one social media platform that you are not already following us. So we are on LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. We also have a Facebook group. If you're not in that group, Fiona is going to share the link now. Definitely join that Facebook group. It is a great way to hear about some of our job openings first, get reminded about events, special deals, discounts, perks. You can ask questions in that group. I love, love, love when people ask their own personal questions in that group about situations, career, troubles, accomplishments, sharing things that you've made. That's what that FindSpark group is all about, and it's a great way to meet and network with other members as well. And then, of course, Hustle Summit is coming up. If you want to supercharge your network, you do not want to miss Hustle Summit. It's the biggest recruitment and networking event that we host throughout the year, a few times now in more and more cities, not just New York, but in Chicago, and we'll be in more as time goes on. And because you are here tonight, we are going to be sharing a special discount code with you. So we are going to be sharing a discount code for $20 off. So that code is going to be LevelUp20, and Fiona is going to put that code in the chat. So you can use that code LevelUp20 for Hustle Summit to save $20 off any of our ticket types. And we also, if you haven't seen yet, and we will follow up in an email with that discount code, if you haven't seen yet, we are doing a massive, massive giveaway. The biggest giveaway that we have ever done in the history of FindSpark. We are giving away a trip to Hustle Summit. So if you are out of state or you want to go to Chicago, if you're in New York, or if you're in Chicago and want to go to New York, you can enter this sweepstakes, and we have crazy prizes. So 2 VIP tickets to Hustle Summit in New York or Chicago, So we do have VIP and general admission tickets. So VIP ticket holders get perks like you get an hour and a half that's exclusive just for you at the beginning of Hustle Summit. You get your resume sent to employers early, and you get free FindSpark Premium membership, which is worth about $100 each year. So you get VIP tickets to, again, your choice of Hustle Summit or New York. We will cover up to $350 of travel expenses. So whether that's the Long Island Railroad or coming in from outside Chicago, a bus, a train, a plane, we will reimburse you for up to $350. We also, a new part of the prize was added recently, Tech Systems, which is one of our amazing employers. Tech System hires a ton of people in cities across the country. They're going to be at Hustle Summit in New York and Chicago. They've already hired somebody through our last Hustle Summit, and they're actually going to bring that person to this Hustle Summit, which is really cool. They are going to be providing $50 in Lyft credits, so you can easily take a Lyft ride from the airport or from your house, whatever it is. We're going to give you just a $100 Visa gift card that you can use on a new outfit or a portfolio, whatever you need to get ready for the event. And then also a free premium subscription to Wix.com, so you can get yourname.com, $100 for Moo. So Moo Cards is one of our amazing sponsors, and Fiona will share a new blog post we just put up about how to create awesome business cards. So that's another really great way to stand out at events, is to have a sweet business card. And if you're not sure how to get started, we literally just published a post by a longtime FindSpark member who has been using Moo Cards to get gigs and land opportunities. So check that out. So this winner will get $100 to use towards Moo, which you can use for business cards or resume printing, and FindSpark Premium membership for life. So this is a huge sweepstakes. It's over $500 worth of prizes. We are so excited to see who's going to win this amazing opportunity. So you can enter in a bunch of different ways with your email. You can refer friends. You'll get a referral code. So basically, the more you share and the more things you do, the more chances you have at winning. So you can actually enter daily on Twitter, and you can just continue to refer friends and get more entries. And of course, if your friend wins, you should make them give you the other free ticket. So check out, it's hustlesummit.co/sweepstakes, and you can enter until this Friday at midnight. And as mentioned, we have premium membership, and the number one thing that gets you is half off all of our events. So if you're planning to come to future Hustle Summits and other events that we have monthly throughout the year, it's a really great investment. It's basically a few dollars a month. You get priority support and special access to employers and more. So you can learn about that at findspark.com/premium. And we also have a new swag store. So I know we have a lot of returners. So if you want to get some sweet Hustle Summit or FindSpark swag, I have like a FindSpark gym shirt and beanie now, which is super cool. And if you enter to win tonight, you will win, you could have a choice of something from the swag store as well. So check that out. And if you are based in the Midwest, we do still have openings on our Hustle Summit fellowship team. So our Hustle Summit fellows, and now I know I saw some New York and Chicago fellows in the office, in the chat, so say fellow if you're a fellow, present yourself, show yourself. So the fellowship program is a really, really great way to get actual event and marketing experience by being a part of producing Hustle Summit in each city. And you also get special access to our employers and recruiters. We are filled up with our Hustle Summit program in New York, but we're still accepting in Chicago. So check out that opportunity. And of course, we'll keep you updated on other, future Hustle Summits in New York and other cities as well. And a huge favor would be if you know anyone in the Midwest, tell them about FindSpark. The best thing that you can do to help make the FindSpark network stronger is to tell your friends, your family, your cousins, your classmates, your colleagues that FindSpark exists. We are so excited to be growing the network to more and more cities nationally. We are becoming the #1 career community for young professionals to join. And so the more people we have involved, the more powerful we'll become, and the more we'll be able to do for you, and the more resources we'll be able to provide to our members. So we have lots of upcoming events. We have an event in Chicago this Thursday. We also have a similar bash in New York, July 12th. And we have 2 more virtual workshops, which are great for any situation, but especially great to get ready for Hustle Summit. And if you are going to Hustle Summit and have a ticket, you will get recordings of all the events as well. And then our 2 Hustle Summits. And in New York, we are having a intern wrap-up workshop and party that is exclusively for people who are interning in New York this summer, who are going to be returning to school in the fall. We'll talk about how you can take the most advantage of your internship. And now before we close up for questions, again, you have until 10 p.m. Eastern tonight to use FindSpark hashtag in a tweet, in Instagram, in a story to us, in a DM, a snap. Just put out something to us, and it could be a picture of your notes, your favorite tip, a video of your pitch. Oh my gosh, I would love, love, love to see a video of your pitch. And before tonight, as we're asking questions, I want everybody, before you go to bed, to practice your pitch out loud. That is the #1 thing I need you to do tonight. So you're not allowed to go to bed until you do that. Okay? Promise? Pinky promise? Okay, great. So with that, I want to encourage you to stay involved. Being a part of the FindSpark community is really, it's career changing. We have so many incredible people from all the folks that you met here tonight. Our members are so ambitious, so talented, and really helpful, right? We have had more and more members help each other land internships, jobs, find really cool opportunities, support each other, share resources, go to Hustle Summit together, become friends. So stay involved. We are so thrilled to have you in the community. And practice your pitch before you go to bed out loud. We also have a campus ambassador program. So if you're going to be enrolled full-time on any campus anywhere in the country in the fall, we would love to have you apply to be a campus ambassador. If you love career development, if you like producing events, you want to learn more about digital marketing, the link to that is findspark.com/campus-ambassador. We would love to see some of you in that program, and you get direct mentorship and training from myself and the FindSpark team. So Fiona will share the link to that. Tell your friends. It's a really fun opportunity. And of course, come to Hustle Summit. We do also have digital packages for Hustle Summit where you get your resume in the resume book and you get access to that exclusive mobile app as well. So it's a really good way to get your name out there digitally if you can't be there in person because of timing or because of travel or whatever it is. So we have digital and in-person tickets. And with that, I want to close our official recording of the event by emphasizing that your career is all about people. At the end of the day, behind every industry, behind every opportunity, behind every company, it's filled with people. And so I'm glad now that you have more tips, more guidance as to how you can connect with people by sharing your story and your pitch effectively and more confidently. So with that, I'm going to close out the recording and stay a little bit longer for questions. We are so glad to have you in the FindSpark community, and I cannot wait to continue to connect with you all online and offline and to have FindSpark be a part of your career journey.